Welcome back. Algeria's Ministry of Justice says it will conduct an investigation into the death of hunger striker Kamel Eddin Fakar. The imprisoned human rights activist died in hospital on Tuesday after more than 50 days without food. Fakar, who fought for the rights of Algeria's minority Berber community, was arrested in March for undermining state security and put in pre-trial detention. His lawyer, Salah Dabouz, says his client had endured great suffering and neglect behind bars. After his death, Amnesty International called on the authorities to investigate his death and, quote, immediately review their repressive policies and the shameful treatment of activists and protesters. Now, over 2,000 Ethiopians are set to be sent home from Yemen by the end of next week in an operation coordinated by the UN's International Organization for Migration. The IOM says an initial group of 120 people have left the country for the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa. The Yemeni authorities have been cracking down on migrants who enter the country without the correct paperwork. They are holding those migrants in what they IOM calls makeshift detention sites where people are being held without basic services. The IOM says 14 people have died from acute watery diarrhea over the past few months. Now, as part of efforts aimed at curbing insecurity in the Central African Republic, Tanzanian UN peacekeepers are on patrol every day in one of the most dangerous areas in the country. The country has been rocked by violence since 2013, when mainly Muslim Seleka rebels ousted then President Francois Bozize, prompting reprisals from mostly Christian militias.
Tanzanian troops in the Central African Republic patrol Gambula and Nufu villages near the border with Cameroon, where armed men continue to cause insecurity. The troops make a part of the UN peacekeeping mission here, known as MINUSCA, that's seeking to protect civilians and establish order in the Central African Republic. Elements of the armed group called Siriri roam here, attracted by the presence of gold and diamonds. These armed men often set fire to many villages, forcing residents to flee. They also often destroy bridges to curb the intervention of peacekeepers.
Since our patrol are moving daily from Gambela to Dilapoko, the security situation is calm but unpredictable, because formerly this Dilapoko was the place where there is a lot of armed group named Siriri, and currently there are 3 and the 3.
A peace deal signed in February by 14 armed groups was meant to bring stability to a country rocked by violence since 2013, when mainly Muslim Seleka rebels ousted the then President Francois Bozize, prompting reprisals from mostly Christian militia. The government and rebels expressed optimism that the accord was signed on February the 5th, but lasting peace is not guaranteed. Similar agreements in 2014, 2015 and 2017 all broke down. To help facilitate intervention of the troops and support the region, MINUSCA is financing the construction of concrete bridges.
This area from Gambela to Dilapoko is covered by thick forest, and there is a lot of bridges, of which they are made of timber. And our troops here are working with using APCs of heavyweight, huge one. That's why we need concrete bridges with cement so that we can move smoothly from Gambela towards Dilapoko and Dilapoko towards Nufu.
Several concrete bridges are being built along this dangerous stretch. The bridges allow military and UN vehicles to pass waterways quickly and safely reach communities. Thousands of people have died because of the unrest in the diamond and gold producing country, and a fifth of the 4.5 million population have fled their homes.
Now let's take you to Burkina Faso to meet famous dancer Sergei Amy Koulibaly, who is giving back to his country by training young grassroots dancers back home his skill. His dance competition, Africa Simply the Best, is being used to find the most talented dancers on the continent who will help promote African creativity around the world.
Renowned Burkinabe contemporary dancer and choreographer is showcasing his famous moves at his studio in Bobo Dioulasso, Burkina Faso. Koulibaly has spent the past 20 years performing with his troupe, Faso Dance Theatre, in some of the most iconic venues around the world. He recently returned home to Burkina Faso and Bobo Dioulasso, the country's second biggest city, where he hosted the third edition of his dance contest, Africa Simply the Best.
The real challenge for Africa is to build on the knowledge that they already have here in Africa and expand as much as possible on the knowledge available from around the world and then bring everything together.
Koulibaly says he wants his contribution to dance to be the fusion of skills from Africa with contemporary dance from all over the world. He adds that dance contests such as Africa Simply the Best are important not just because they showcase the variety of talent that Africa has to offer, but also because they give a platform to African artists to share their gifts with the world.
Creating these types of competitions stimulates people to go as far as possible to become the best, therefore expand their foundation little by little in order to become their best. It also helps to see how we can contribute to contemporary dance creation around the world.
Aussi voir comment nous on peut apporter quelque chose à la création contemporaine dans le monde.
Cameroon's Zora Snake won the competition's first prize after wowing the judges with an energetic performance of his piece called The Departure, depicting his country's current political crisis and the role of the youth. The top 3 winners will receive professional dance and theatre coaching and participate in a world tour that will expose them to international audiences.
Finally on the program, thousands of people have attended one of Africa's top cultural events in Swaziland. It's the largest musical and arts festival that combines music, food, design and diversity. Take a look.
Of Africa, listen to our music. Our music is timeless. Our music is ancient.
Eswatini, formerly known as Swaziland, is a small landlocked country in southern Africa that is home to one of the biggest music festivals on the continent. The Bushfire Festival is held annually in an area in the country's northwest known as the Valley of Heaven. Organizers say about 30,000 people made their way here from all over the globe. Attendees could purchase art, craft, and sample cuisine from all over the world.
The festival was so, number one, superb, music, people, meeting people, race, multi, interconnection.
This year's edition brought together artists from 25 different nations and attendees from over 60. Musical arts like Morena Labara from Lesotho shared the stage with Metu, the German techno marching band.
The most interesting things for me is the possibility of meeting people from the Southern Africa region. As a Mozambican, and in Eswatini, meeting people from South Africa, from Botswana, from Lesotho, from everywhere in Africa. That's a great platform.
The festival has now been held 13 times and stands out for being pollution and crime-free.
Well, on that very musical note, that's how we end Network Africa today. I'm Teniola Shubawale. Thanks for watching.